Honorable guests, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. On behalf of the Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad, I welcome you all to today's public talk under the Ambassadors Platform Series on Pakistan-Kazakhstan relation, cooperation in regional peace and stability, organized by China-Pakistan Study Center. We are honored to have with us His Excellency Mr. Yazhan Kastafin, Ambassador of Republic of Kazakhstan to Pakistan, as the guest speaker today. Ambassador Kastafin has served at various diplomatic positions, including Attaché Counsel of the Legal Division of the Department of International Law of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Republic of Kazakhstan, and to the Kingdom of Belgium, as well as Minister Counselor of the Embassy of the Republic of Kazakhstan to the US. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now request Dr. Talat Shabir, Director CPSC, to share his views with us. Dr. Shabir is Director China-Pakistan Study Center at ISSI. He holds a PhD in International Relations from Quaid-e-Azam University and has been a visiting scholar at Segar Center for Asian Studies, George Washington University, US. I would now request Dr. Talat Shabir for his introductory remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency, Mr. Yazhan Kastafin, Ambassador of Republic of Kazakhstan, Ambassador Azaz Ahmed Chaudhry, Director General Institute of Strategic Studies, honorable guests, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. On behalf of Institute of Strategic Studies, I welcome all of you today to our public talk under a Ambassadors platform. We are honored to have with us Ambassador of Kazakhstan to Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan was one of the first countries that recognized Kazakhstan, and both countries enjoyed cordial relations then on. Pakistan views Kazakhstan as a friendly country which enjoys a special status in international community. The nature of Pakistan-Kazakhstan cooperation encompasses a broad spectrum of security, economic, and cultural issues. Both countries have also supported each other at multilateral forums such as Shanghai Cooperation Organization, World Trade Organization, and various United Nations bodies, and shared a common view on world issues. Most importantly, the people of Pakistan and Kazakhstan have ancient historical linkages. Ladies and gentlemen, today Pakistani ports are the shortest and most viable routes for Central Asia to access the Arabian Sea and wider world. Kazakhstan is the largest landlocked country in the world, endowed with huge oil and gas reserves. With prime geographical location, Kazakh leadership is focused on developing the country and weaving a web of connectivity with its neighboring countries. For Pakistan, Kazakhstan is of special importance in the context of China-Pakistan economic corridor. Pakistan, China, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan are also part of quadrilateral transit and trade agreement for transit traffic and trade related to CPEC, which aims at providing access to Gwadar port. Kazakhstan has a special economic zone of Korgos on border with China spread over an area of 1,100 acres. It has a rail track facility that facilitates cargo between China and Europe. Korgos is also linked with Kashgar. Hence, Central Asian countries can optimize Korgos-Gwadar access to carry out trade with South Asia, Middle East, Africa, and beyond through Gwadar port. With this, I look forward to the talk of Excellency on Pakistan-Kazakhstan relations. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And before I hand over the podium to Ambassador Azaz Ahmed Chaudhry for his welcome remarks, I would just briefly introduce him. Ambassador Azaz Ahmed Chaudhry has served as member of Foreign Service of Pakistan for 37 years and rose to the position of Foreign Secretary of Pakistan. He has also served as Ambassador of Pakistan to Netherlands, Foreign Office spokesman, and Deputy Permanent Representative of Pakistan to United Nations. His last diplomatic assignment was Ambassador of Pakistan to United States. He has most recently authored his memoirs titled Diplomatic Footprints. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Talat. And Ambassador, may I extend a very warm welcome to you to this podium. And it is such a pleasure to see a very active ambassador. You were here before and you agreed to give a public talk. I want to tell you that we are keenly looking forward to hearing you. Sitting in my office, I asked the ambassador what is his top priority at the moment, and he says that the people of Pakistan need to know better his country, and only then they can expand ties in every field. And I think our institute can play a modest role in that regard. Your talk will be placed on the YouTube channel and on our website as well as other social media platforms, so that people of Pakistan, the robust message goes to them that here is a country, Kazakhstan, that wants to do business with Pakistan. I was also told by Ambassador that he recently was in Karachi and he held there's so many meetings there, which is good, a very active, energized ambassador. So we are all very keen to listen to you, Mr. Ambassador. May I now invite you to take the podium and share your thoughts.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank you, Your Excellency Mr. Chaudhry, for your invitation. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here today. I believe that such events can play a very important role in terms of raising awareness of our communities about, our countries. So, let me share my thoughts and my humble opinion about the current state of play in terms of cooperation between our countries, and I will brief you shortly about the history, the modern history of relations between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. So, as it was mentioned, Pakistan was one of the first countries who recognized our independence. Our president, first president, His Excellency Mr. Nursultan Nazarbayev, he visited Pakistan back in 1992 in February. And actually it was one of the first visits of our president during that time abroad. On February 24th, our diplomatic relations were established, and since then we have a very good, constructive dialogue, political dialogue in general, relations, friendly relations between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. Next year, we will be celebrating 30th anniversary of establishment diplomatic relations between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. Well, when it comes to our partnership, I must say that during all these 3 decades, we had regular visits, regular meetings, regular negotiations at the highest level. Our president several times visited your beautiful country, and your leaders visited our country as well. One of the last visits was, in terms of bilateral visits, it was in 2015 when the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, visited our capital, Nur Sultan. So they discussed a broad range of issues. Recently, it was in the middle of September, on September 16th, in Dushanbe, Prime Minister Imran Khan met with President Tokayev. They again discussed bilateral cooperation. It was agreed that our president will visit your beautiful capital next year. Probably it will happen in the second half of next year. So, when it comes to our political dialogue, I must say that we have very good relations, and I would say as a prerequisite we have built a solid foundation for further developing partnership between our countries. We built a mutual trust, which is, I believe, the most important part for any relations, be it personal relations or international. So, as I said, at the political level, we have a very good constructive dialogue. Now, one of the most, I would say, leading parts of our cooperation is our cooperation in military sphere. Now we have I would say, one of the closest cooperation in terms of between the ministries of defense. On regular basis, we hold joint military drills. We conduct different, different measures, actions in terms of bringing closer our militaries. Also, Kazakhstan is very much keen on, I would say, exploring Pakistani great experience in terms of peacekeeping operations. This is a very, important part for us, and nowadays our leadership pays great attention to peacekeeping operations and participation of our militaries in such activity. And we know that Pakistan has a great experience in this term. So when it comes to developing our bilateral cooperation, during the talks between President Tokayev and Prime Minister Imran Khan, they mainly focused on developing bilateral trade and economic cooperation. Nowadays, it's probably one of the most important parts for any relations in the world. But when it comes to developing our economic cooperation, we have some issues that should be addressed, as soon as possible, I would even say. The first one is the lack of information. Nowadays, we see that our communities know little about each other. If you go to the streets, for example, if you ask someone about Kazakhstan, I believe that they know little about our country if they know anything. Same in Kazakhstan. So that's why I believe that we should be focused on raising awareness about our countries. It's true that if we go back to the history, our nations cooperated for centuries. And then due to some historical events that took place in the past, somehow we lost our connections. Now I believe it's time to revive these relations. Moreover, when we talk about cooperation between Kazakhstan and Pakistan, I believe it's not just partnership, it's not just economic cooperation, which is important, of course. But first of all and foremost, it's about reviving brotherly relations between two nations. Nowadays, in our region in general, I must say that Kazakhstan considers Pakistan as a regional power. And as you might know, Kazakhstan is a leading country of Central Asia. So we believe that if we unite our efforts, if we develop our cooperation, it will influence not only our countries, it will be beneficial not only for our two countries, but in general it will be useful and beneficial for the whole region. Nowadays it's very hard to divide, let's say, security issues and economic cooperation. These two dimensions are closely interrelated. So if we want to develop economic cooperation, security should be provided. If economic cooperation is well developed, it can definitely positively influence security issues. So that's why even at the level of our national security advisors, the most I would say topical issues that they discuss are dedicated to our economic cooperation. So the main issue, as I mentioned, that we need to address is the lack of information. And what should be done in this term? So about 2 weeks ago, I met with the Minister of Information, and I met with leading TV channels of Pakistan. I believe that we should develop cooperation in terms of our media representatives. So in general, I must say that we should not be focused only on B2B or our economic ties. First of all and foremost, in terms of creating, I would say, friendly environment for developing our cooperation, we should be focused on people to people. I believe people to people is the most important part of our cooperation that we should be focused on, medium-term and short-term perspectives. That's why I believe we should develop cooperation between our media representatives, between our TV channels, between our newspapers, in order to exchange information on what is happening in Kazakhstan and deliver this information to Pakistani community and vice versa, to deliver the latest developments that are taking place in Pakistan to Kazakh community. So in this term, I believe we should develop cooperation in order to bring closer our communities, our societies. So in terms of people to people, I would mention three main pillars that I want to be focused on. The first one is about developing cooperation between our universities. It's nowadays, it's well known that Pakistan is one of the youngest nations in the world. So if we want to build our relations for interests of generations to come, we should be focused on our young people, on our youth. That's why I, during my visits to the regions, or while I'm here in Islamabad, I'm trying to visit your leading universities as well, in order to develop cooperation between our educational organizations. And let me give you just one example. I met, for example, here in your beautiful capital, with the leadership of Qaid University, with the leadership of NAML, with the leadership of Islamic International University. Now we are establishing good direct communications with our Kazakh universities. When I was in Karachi, as His Excellency mentioned, in 3.5 days, in total I had 30 meetings, and I met also with leadership of NED University, of University of Karachi, and of University of Dawood Engineering. So it was agreed to develop cooperation between our technical universities. So this is a very important part. We could exchange, establish students exchange and establish kind of joint research, so on and so forth. Another second pillar in terms of developing people-to-people cooperation is think tanks. And that's why I'm here today, Your Excellency. I believe that think tanks, it's a kind of intellectual diplomacy, and cooperation between our think tanks can, contribute greatly in terms of bringing our communities closer to each other. The day before yesterday, I attended an online signing ceremony. PITE University, as you might know, Pakistan Institute for Development Economics, signed an MOU with Economic Research Institute under the Ministry of the National Economy of Kazakhstan. So I believe that such, interactions, such ties can help us in terms of identifying the possible areas for further cooperation, the issues that we might have in terms of developing cooperation, obstacles that need to be addressed by both sides. And the third part of our people-to-people dimension, as I mentioned before, it's cooperation between our media representatives. I hope that in the near future we will, inshallah, establish good cooperation between our TV channels, because this is the best way to reach out our communities. We could exchange, TV shows, TV programs dedicated to Pakistan, to the beauty of your nature, and vice versa. Programs dedicated to modern Kazakhstan we could air here at your TV channels. So I believe that these are prerequisites in terms of developing friendly, favorable environment for further strengthening cooperation between our countries. Now, when it comes to our economic cooperation in B2B, I met with so many people from local business community. I met with, when I was in Karachi, I met with people from Federation of Pakistani Chambers of Commerce, pharmaceutical industry, textile industry, Karachi Chamber of Commerce, and many others people. So what I see and what they mention as the first things that we need to address is the resuming direct flights between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. Now we are working closely with civil aviation authorities. By the way, in Karachi, I met also with the leadership of the civil aviation authorities, and I'm happy to inform you that both sides agreed to reestablish direct flights between our countries. So I believe that direct flights can boost our B2B, our people-to-people cooperation. I can tell you from my own experience when I traveled from Nur Sultan to Pakistan to Islamabad, I traveled via Dubai and I had to spend 10 hours waiting from one flight to another. So for business people, it's a wasting of time. So that's why establishing direct flights between our countries are very important. Another very important part, if we want to develop our bilateral trade, if we want to strengthen our B2B ties, we should establish secure, sustainable land routes for goods transportation. That's why when it comes to this very important part of my task, not only mine, but in general, we should work not only at our bilateral level, but also we should work at the regional level as well. It's well known that the shortest route that we could have, it goes through Afghanistan. That's why I believe that when it comes to Afghanistan, it's a kind of for the countries of our region, it's a kind of collective responsibility to convince our Afghan brothers that it's time to cooperate. It's time to bring our nations to each other. So if we want our region to be successful, if we want our region to be competitive on the international markets, we should start and we should develop our regional cooperation. And the regional cooperation begins from regional interconnectivity. We should establish good direct communication lines, land lines, air flights, so on and so forth between our countries. Moreover, when it comes to bilateral cooperation between Kazakhstan and Pakistan, and not only Kazakhstan and Pakistan, but in general between Southern Asia and Central Asia, probably Afghanistan can be one of the most beneficial parts of this process, since Afghanistan can serve as a regional transit hub in terms of developing cooperation between our countries. So this is the very important part that we have. Another important part is establishing banking channels, because when it comes to trade, when it comes to B2B, we should have banking channels for having all these financial operations, transactions, so on and so forth. So I met also with people from the bank community in Karachi, and again I see that there is a great interest in terms of be well represented in our country. In general, I must say that there is a huge interest from both sides to develop cooperation, be it our business communities or our experts communities. In terms of raising awareness about cooperation between our countries, we are also planning to organize joint research on history between our universities. Next week, the week after, at the beginning of November, planning to visit Lahore, and I'm planning to meet the leadership of Punjab University. So when I was in Peshawar, I met some people from the Department of History. It was agreed to organize joint research on the history because some parts of our history somehow we lost this information, and probably working together with your scholars, with your experts community, we could get some information about our history. So this is the main I would say issues that we need to address in the medium-term perspectives. We need to fill the gap. This is the most important part. That's why I also have very good and close cooperation with the embassy of Pakistan to Kazakhstan, and we are planning to organize same events, implement same measures in Kazakhstan, because we need, first of all, to address the main challenge, the lack of information, and the rest, I believe, will follow. Well, again, thank you so much for your invitation. Thank you so much for coming to this event. I believe that this event is of utmost importance in terms of bringing this message that we need to revive our brotherly relations, and we need to strengthen our cooperation. Thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for question and answer session. The session will be moderated by Ambassador Chaudhry.
Well, thank you, Ambassador. It was indeed a very clear-headed disposal of the priorities that you have set yourself as ambassador to promote ties between your country, great country, and I can see that it's a huge country, Kazakhstan, and our country, Pakistan. I think you have laid out your priorities so well, and that even we, the Institute of Strategic Studies, as one of the think tanks that you are visiting, also figures in it within the context of people-to-people relations. I also see that you are making attempts to reach out to universities. You know, think tanks and universities work together, and promoting joint research. Last time when you were here, you gave me a very nice book depicting the history of Kazakhstan, so I can see very clearly that your people are working to make sure that the world knows what the roots of Kazakhstan are. So I think your priorities are right, and we are very, very happy that we can be one of the forums that you want to use for this purpose. So may I now open the floor. If there are any questions, we'd like to have those. Dr. Saif Malik is Director of India Study Center. Sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Ambassador, for an enlightening talk. You will be pleased to know I am the first Pakistani, rather the only one who did PhD on your beautiful country. And I'm glad you have touched upon number of areas of mutual cooperation. And I'm wondering, Kazakhstan being the food basket, not only for Central Asia, but Russia as well, how Pakistan and Kazakhstan can benefit from your experience in agriculture. And secondly, sir, you rightly mentioned relations strengthened with the interaction of the people-to-people contact and youth, and the cultural domain is always plays a very pivotal role in this regard. How you would like to, your take on this, especially subtitling of good plays and movies here in Pakistan, with the subtitling Kazakhstan could be displayed there. Likewise, we can have from your experience as well. So thank you very much for your talk.
Well, thank you so much for your question. So when it comes to our cooperation in agriculture, I must say that I met Minister of Food Security twice, and we discussed this issue. So last year in February, here in Islamabad, we held the 9th meeting of our Intergovernmental Joint Commission on Cooperation between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. And it was agreed that we need to sign an MOU between our agricultural ministries. Now this MOU is finalized. Inshallah, I hope that by the end of this year, we will sign this MOU. It will, create kind of legal framework for developing cooperation between our, ministries in agriculture area. So, when it comes to cooperation in agriculture, I see that there is again great potential in this term. Even when we look at the bilateral trade, we will see that most of our trade is agriculture. Vegetables, fruits, nuts, so on and so forth. So this is why I believe that we should establish again, when it comes to developing cooperation, be it agricultural or pharmaceutical industry or textile, I always prefer to to give the floor to our experts, the people who know the things. Because, when I spoke to the Ministry of Agriculture of Kazakhstan as well, I see that there is a great interest to develop cooperation. I will give you just one example. So our country nowadays is among top 10 countries of wheat exporters in the world. And Pakistan is interested in importing Kazakh wheat to to your country. The main issue that we have, the land routes, how we can deliver Kazakh wheat to Pakistan, and due to extremely expensive transportation costs, it was decided to suspend this issue and to go back to this very interesting project later on. So that's why I say that even in terms of developing our cooperation in agriculture, a prerequisite is to develop infrastructure, interregional connectivity. When we have well-developed land routes, railroads, for example, nowadays Uzbekistan is constructing a railroad from the southern city Termez via Mazar-e Sharif, Kabul to Peshawar. So when this railroad is built, we can, then use that line to export Kazakh wheat to our brothers in Pakistan. So again, in agriculture, I believe that there is a great potential, and not only in terms of exporting or importing agricultural goods, but also in terms of holding joint research. So that's why, for example, I was told that in Faisalabad, you have one of the leading agriculture university. So my idea was to develop cooperation between our agriculture universities as well. And not only agriculture universities, but also agricultural research centers as well. Because again, I'm not an expert in this field. So that's why I prefer to develop and provide good cooperation between our experts communities. And they know better what to do, when to do, and which areas of cooperation could be mutually beneficial. Replying to your second question with regard to movies and other TV shows and TV programs, I didn't want to say that, but nowadays we are working on this issue as well. So we are working closely with NAML. When I met with the rector of NAML, Mr. Jafar, we discussed this issue, and now they are translating scripts to Kazakh historical movie dedicated to the establishment of Kazakh statehood. So I was told by my Pakistani brothers that, for example, the Turkish TV show Ertugrul was extremely popular here in Pakistani community, and I said that we have similar movies of a very good quality dedicated to the history of our region, and we decided that we need to translate transcripts and to have it not subtitled but first dubbed. We should have good quality multi-voice dubbing to make people enjoy this movie, not reading and looking at the same time on what is happening. So we are working on this issue as well. Moreover, when I met with, as I mentioned, with the Minister of Information, he said that we have some good Pakistani movies to share with you as well. So we are planning to do vice versa, same in Kazakhstan. We are planning to organize dubbing of Pakistani movies and then to air them at Kazakh TV channels. So I believe this is the best way to reach out to our communities and to show the culture, the history. Again, we have so many things in common. In the past, we have so many things in common in terms of culture. That's why I'm also focused on organizing different cultural events. Next year is the 30th anniversary of our diplomatic relations, right? So inshallah, I hope that we will be able to organize events here in Pakistan, inviting Kazakh artists, Kazakh troops, and vice versa in Kazakhstan as well. Thank you.
Very well. Ambassador, connected to this, I'm tempted to ask a related question. Now, I can see the map. So one way that you pointed out was that through Uzbekistan and from Uzbekistan, northern Afghanistan to Pakistan, that is one route. But I also see another route. If you go east into China, via Kyrgyzstan, there are two roads, all-season roads, and you connect with CPAC route. So how is your country Kazakhstan looking at CPAC as a whole, and also participating in some of the projects, including agriculture, because CPAC is now one of the areas where there is interest in China to cooperate with Pakistan is agriculture. So do you see that also prospective for your country?
Thank you, Excellency, for your question. So, in terms of routes between Kazakhstan and Pakistan, in general, we have three main routes. The first one through Afghanistan that I mentioned. The second one, just what you mentioned, Your Excellency, it's the Karakoram Highway. Karakoram Highway, there are 4 member states of this road: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, China, and Pakistan. This route cannot be used, during the whole year, due to severe climate conditions. So this road closes somewhere in November and opens up somewhere in March or April.
Even Kyrgyzstan?
No, this part in China.
Directly?
Yeah. So that's why about from 4 to 5 months a year, we cannot use this road.
Okay.
The third option is via Iran. So when it comes to delivering goods to the western part of our country, we can use Iran as well. And yeah, exactly. And via the Caspian Sea, we can deliver goods from the western part of my country. So when it comes to the CPEC, I know that CPEC is a very important and crucial part of the One Belt, One Road initiative, right? Kazakhstan is also a very important part of this great infrastructural project. And I must say that last year, we finalized construction of the railroad connecting Western China with Europe. And this railroad goes through Kazakhstan, then it crosses the Caspian Sea, it enters the Azerbaijan, from Azerbaijan it goes to Georgia, from Georgia to Turkey, and finally from Turkey to the European Union. Nowadays, delivery time takes 14-15 days, in comparison to 30-40 days by sea. So you see, it takes 2 weeks in comparison to 1 month by sea. So that's why I'm saying that Kazakhstan is also a very important part of the One Belt, One Road initiative. And of course, we are in favor and we fully support this idea to connect our infrastructural projects, because we believe that we should have as many options as we can have in terms of goods transportation. And moreover, it will definitely, I believe, influence positively the final price of our products. It will make our products more competitive, not only on our markets, but also on the regional markets and in general as well. And that's why I'm saying that Kazakhstan and Pakistan should not consider each other as a kind of final point of destination. As you may see, Kazakhstan can serve as a golden gate for Pakistan in terms of getting access to the Central Asian markets, to the Eurasian Economic Union, and to the European markets as well. And vice versa, Pakistan can serve, Kazakhstan is the biggest landlocked country in the world. So probably Kazakhstan, as no one else, knows the meaning and importance of the regional connectivity. So that's why we believe that Pakistan can serve as a golden gate in terms of getting to the warm waters, as Your Excellency mentioned in his speech. So that's why I believe that it's not only bilateral cooperation, it's kind of, inter-regional cooperation where our both countries can serve each other as regional hubs. And when I met with Pakistani experts, they told me that even ASEAN countries, they are closely monitoring the developing cooperation between our countries, because they know that if there is a well-developed infrastructure connecting Southern Asia with Central Asia, it can give them access from, for example, Karachi seaport or Gwadar seaport, access to finally to the European markets. So you see that this cooperation between our two countries can serve not only to interests of our region, but in general to our Asian continent as whole. Thank you.
Dost Mohammed is a researcher in India Study Center.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your excellent talk. And my question relates to Eurasia, because your country is part of Eurasia. Regarding Eurasia, Mackinder says that whoever dominates the Eurasia will dominate the world. So how do you see and how does your country see the great power competition as far as Eurasia is concerned? Because China and the US both are preoccupied with Eurasia. So how do you see their great power competition? Thank you so much.
I must say it's one of the toughest questions today. Thank you for your question. So, as you might know, Kazakhstan in its foreign policy is implementing so-called multivectoral approach. It means that we are developing, cooperation not only with our regional partners, not only with our neighbors, but also with other, big countries as well, including the United States, including the European Union. For example, with the European Union in 2015, I used to serve in Brussels, and our president visited in 2015 Brussels, and they signed an agreement on establishing strategic partnership between Kazakhstan and the European Union. So when it comes to competition between these, big powers, I always say that we should be focused on developing our own potential. You see, we want to make our region competitive on the international markets. This is why I believe we should be, again, focused on developing our own potential. But when it comes to, this competitions between great powers, we are always in favor of diplomatic talks. We are always in favor of peaceful solutions, because conflicts can never, ever contribute to development in any way, in any extent. So that's why we believe that even when it comes to conflicts between these great powers that you mentioned, we should always try to find a peaceful solution to these issues. And Kazakhstan is well known for its peaceful international initiatives, such as SICA, for example. Next year we will be celebrating 30th anniversary of establishing SICA. SICA is a conference on interaction and confidence building measures in Asia. Yes, this forum is a very important one in terms of preventing conflicts in our, in Asia, in our continent. So that's why I believe that we should be less focused on conflicts, on more focused on possibilities, on opportunities that we could use in terms of strengthening our countries, our potential. That's why I said that if, for example, we unite efforts, Pakistan and Kazakhstan, it will definitely influence positively the whole situation in the region. And we will be able to, convince again our Afghan brothers that we should start cooperating, we should start developing our regional interconnectivity, so on and so forth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The SICA is a great initiative by your former president, Nur Sultan Nazarbayev. And I have attended and also coordinated and chaired many of the SICA meetings when I was Foreign Secretary. But the one that stands out was the one that was held, I think, in Beijing, where it was 2014. And I could see that there was a big galaxy of leaders. Of course, Mr. Nazarbayev was there, but President Xi announced in that decisions of Asia will be made in Asia. So I think I remember that sentence. And then President Putin also spoke, and there were others too. So yeah, that was a great initiative. Any other question that anyone has? Yes, Mohammed Faisal. Faisal is a research scholar in the China-Pakistan Study Center.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ambassador. Ambassador, the SCO actually has become a regional organization, and Kazakhstan is an important member of it. How do you look at Pakistan and Kazakhstan expanding their cooperation via the SCO platform? Thank you.
So when it comes to our regional platforms, that we have nowadays in Asia, including Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We, in general, I must say that I didn't mention this very important aspect, that in terms of developing cooperation between Kazakhstan and Pakistan, in general, within the framework of international organizations, we have a very good constructive dialogue. And when it comes to Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we have a number of dimensions that we can be focused on. But again, to strengthen cooperation within the framework of international organizations, prerequisite is to strengthen, to develop our bilateral cooperation. You see, as I mentioned before, the main issue that we have today is the lack of information. So, if we want to develop and strengthen our partnership within the framework of these regional or international organizations, we should be, first of all and foremost, focused on our bilateral agenda. This is very important, extremely important. Let me give you just one figure. Last year, trade turnover, according to our statistics, was $45 million US. $45 million US. It's almost nothing. It's almost nothing. According to your statistics, last year, our trade turnover was something about $107 million US. Again, I cannot say that it's a big or huge figure, you see. So that's why I'm saying that we should, first of all, develop our bilateral potential. And then we can move forward, and then we can coordinate our activities within the framework of our regional organizations, including Shanghai Cooperation Organization. But anyway, I must say that we have a very good interaction, and we have a mutual understanding in terms of how our regional cooperation should be developed and what priorities we should have in terms of strengthening our region in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I can pitch in the last question to you, Ambassador. You know, peace and security are very, very important. And recently, Pakistan has fought a war against terrorism. And luckily, thanks to the bravery of our armed forces, our law enforcement authorities, and the people of Pakistan, we have defeated these forces of terrorism. But we also know that our victories will be tentative if Afghanistan next door does not stabilize. And that's why it's very important that there is peace and stability in Afghanistan. We see that there is a major change in Afghanistan. The Taliban have come to power, but we also see that the regional countries are coordinating their position as to what will happen to Afghanistan, because they all want to see peace and stability there. And some of the Western countries are still also making up their mind whether they should economically coerce Taliban to get more concessions from them, or whether they should use incentives. So we don't know what will happen. So what is your country's position, and how do you personally see the situation in Afghanistan shaping up? Because a lot depends on Afghanistan becoming peaceful and stable.
Thank you, Excellency, for your question. So when it comes to Afghanistan, let me just inform you that recently, last week, the special representative on foreign affairs of Kazakhstan, His Excellency Yerzhan Kazakhanov, visited Kabul, and he met officials, and they discussed prospects for restoring our economic and trade cooperation. And this is a very important part. So we believe that poor economic performance creates favorable conditions for radicalization, for increasing unemployment rate, for stimulating especially young generation to be more radicalized. So this is why I mentioned in my in my speech that nowadays security issues are closely interrelated with economic development. That's why I said that we should be focused on developing our economic cooperation. When it comes to Afghanistan, the Taliban are there, and I'm afraid that they don't have any plans to leave this country. So that's why I believe we should develop, at least try to develop constructive dialogue with the Taliban. Without dialogue, without any diplomatic talks, it will be extremely difficult for me at least, to imagine that somehow our Afghan brothers will be, developing positively their country. So that's why I said that it's a kind of regional responsibility for the countries, for the neighboring countries, including Kazakhstan, to convince our Afghan brothers and to stimulate in all possible ways economic cooperation and trade. Without this, without economic development, I'm afraid it will be extremely difficult to expect kind of positive changes in Afghanistan. Let me give you another example. In February 2020, last year, the United States adopted a strategy, a Central Asian strategy. It's a kind of medium perspectives strategy for 2020-2025, I believe. So they set out six goals, and 2 out of 6 goals for Central Asia dedicated to Afghanistan. One of these goals is to develop cooperation with Afghanistan, between Central Asia and Afghanistan, and another one to establish, to stimulate Central Asian states to assist to Afghanistan. So what I'm trying to say is that all the countries of the world understand that we need to cooperate with Afghanistan. Now the Taliban, the force, the power that that keep under control the situation in general in Afghanistan. So that's why I believe that we should have direct dialogue. Without this direct dialogue, I believe it will be impossible to develop our regional cooperation. Thank you.
Ambassador, I must say that Pakistan's position, or your position, is very close to the position of Pakistan also, because we also believe that shunning the Taliban government will not produce any good results. You have to engage them and then remind them that there are certain expectations that international community has of them, which they must fulfill. And I think that's the message which the Moscow meeting has also given to the world. So yeah, it's encouraging to hear that your call is very close to what we also believe to be the way forward. So it has been fascinating talk, Ambassador, and let me request the audience to join me in a big hand of applause for the Ambassador. We are ready for the next announcement, Maruf.
I would now request Ambassador Chaudhry, Director General, Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad, to present Institute Shield to our guest speaker. I invite Honorable Ambassador to join Ambassador Chaudhry in front of the stage and receive Institute's memento. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the event. Please join us for tea served at the back.